understand or make you guys understand, especially for the people who do not work on PowerPoint presentation, a few basics in the sense, what are the different layouts? Why do we use different layouts? What are these things at the bottom? Just understanding the basic interface of PowerPoint presentation, PowerPoint. So what is the purpose of PowerPoint for presentation purpose? So should the PowerPoints have a lot of data, like how you would put in a Word document, or should have a lesser amount of data? It has to be less amount of data. A lot of time people use PowerPoint as a Word document. PowerPoint is not supposed to be a dumping ground for a lot of data. This is supposed to be a little more precise, more concise, easy to read data that you are putting up over here. And along with it, it has to be looking little attractive. That's why people don't send reports. A lot of time people would prefer a PowerPoint presentation to be sent rather than a Word document or sending it in Excel, because this makes it a little more attractive to look at. Easy to read, attractive. I don't know if you've seen this thing or observed this thing that, now suddenly we guys have moved from heavy data driven reports to more infographics, smart graphs kind of a report. So to create the templates, to create this infographics, a lot of working with the objects comes into play. So we'll talk about that. Very nice, interesting shortcuts that I don't know if you guys use shortcuts in PowerPoint. Very interesting shortcuts are there in PowerPoint, which will make your life very, very easy. But first, I want to understand that when to use all these different type of layouts. What is the purpose of this layout? Why do we use the different kind of layouts? How do we decide which layout to use when? So what is a purpose of a slide, title slide? So we are going to talk about different types of layout. So we are saying the first one is a title slide. Title slide, how many of them should be there with us in our PowerPoint presentation? Only one slide is there. And this is what? This is the starting slide, right? This is the starting slide and only one of this kind should be there. All right. Next is title and content slide. What is the purpose? How many of this should be there? What is the purpose of title and content? Topic and intro, or the content for it. Which layout do you use the most throughout? Let's say if they are, what percentage, which layout is used heavily in your reports? Title and content slides are used 90% of the slide deck. They will occupy 90% of the slide deck. Like, because typically there is a title and we want to talk about the content related to it in it. Next one that you use is called a section headers. What are section headers? So just like how when you read a book, when you pick up a book, imagine if the book was, you start from page 1 and it goes on 600 pages and there's no break in your book. Would you enjoy reading that book if you don't know what's there? I at least have a tendency, I'll just see how many pages are left to finish this chapter, and then I continue. It gives me encouragement to finish it. So, and then there's a topic in which you will know, okay, exactly this is what I'm going to read in this particular chapter when I'm reading a book. So section header works like a break in your deck, which helps the other person also know about what next you're going to talk about. It helps us to create that transition between multiple topics. Okay, helps to create transition in between the topics. How many would be there depends on how much, how many topics you have. So based on topics, number of topics. The next thing we have is to content. When should we use a to content slide? So why to content? Because it's talking about different aspect of the same data. It's not that you're talking about awareness and you're talking about the engagement and then putting them together. That's a separate thing. So it neatly creates your column, and then in your columns you can put the content very easily. So that's how your to content slides are meant for. So it is not for comparison, it is to show two different contents of the same topic. Okay. Next one is the comparison slide. So if you look at it, pretty much looks the same, right? To content and comparison, very much similar. So when will you use comparison slide? To compare two things on same aspect. In the sense, example, let me put over here like A/B testing. I think this should be clear. And the performance in the A/B testing, that's what we can put over here in the content slide. Okay, next I've got title only. When should I use title only? So if I'm putting a picture, if I'm putting any kind of media, if I'm putting, I'm copying my charts from Excel and putting it over here, I'll simply use a content slide, right? When no text and only, let's say, pictures, or you're putting media, any kind of, videos, or you're putting any smart arts. Smart arts would not be there. Media and pictures, etc., would be there. Then you need only the title one, right? And then there is something called blank. When should I use blank? Blank would be basically, let's say I've picked, um, like for example, we create dashboards, right, in Excel. So on the dashboard title is already there. My charts are already there. My insights are already there. I pick the entire thing and stick it on the PowerPoint. Do I need a title in this case? I don't need a title in this case because everything is self-explanatory. So what is the point of putting a title and that same title gets repeated on my dashboard also? Doesn't make sense. So in those cases, I can have a blank. When used when the content is self-explanatory and we don't need text title on top. Or you are putting a picture. That picture itself is a complete picture where you don't need a title to explain what they're looking in the picture. Then I'll use a blank slide. I don't need a title also in those cases. Then there are content with caption. This is very similar to content, in which it is forcing you to put content and caption on one side and a picture on the other side. This is what it looks like. New slide. This is how it looks like. So you can have, it's forcing you that, okay, over here, you can only have text. You can't have a picture. And this is where you're going to put a title. And over here, you can have things related to your text that you've written. It could be a table that you're talking about. It could be a chart related to the text. Let's say you are putting all your month on month, year on year charts over here. Now you would like to talk about in text also regarding the same. So you can use a two content slide. My charts are on the right side and my text is on the left side. All these layouts, it's not that it's mandatory to use these layout, but it kind of gives a proper structure and a proper placeholder for the things to go into. So it could be a picture I've put, it can be a graph I put, it can be a smart art I put, and then over here I have the text related to it. So it has to be related. It can't be two different things. Like you're talking about text about something else, picture is about something else. That doesn't work. It has to be related information, but two different type of content for it. One is text and other could be anything. And then we have, similarly, we have the picture and the caption over here. So it's just reducing the type of, what do you call, the content that you can put over here. In two content, it allows you to put a table, it allows you to put a chart, smart art, icons, images, movies. And when you move to this one, it only allows you to put a picture. So you have a picture over here, which fits right into this placeholder. Plus you have a text to go along with it, and you put a title over here. So those are the basic differences. So over here, if I go and I try to pick, I was creating, trying to see what all we can do. So nicely it fits in this area. I don't have to resize it, nothing. And whatever is the, let's say, retail store, campaign, and then whatever are the points that you want to talk about over here, we can talk about it. Correct? So this is what a picture and a other slide would do for you. Over here, I have a liberty of doing the same, putting a text, putting a title, but I can replace with any different type of media. Now let's talk about at the bottom what's going on over here. So I have got something like a normal slide show. What is normal? This is what normal looks like. Over here on the left hand side, we get a understanding of how many slide, which slide is after which slide, and the content is over here where we work. Then we have got something called a slide sorter. This is what a slide sorter looks like. We can zoom in to make it smaller. And it is much easier and faster over here than working in the normal one. Because if there is something at the bottom, for me to pull it up over here and rearrange, it's very difficult. So typically when we want to rearrange our slides, we can zoom in into our slide sorter. We can see all the slides together. They may be 50 slides. It's very easy to bring and move the position of the slides over here. So that's typically where we use the slide sorter. And then we have the slideshow. If I want to present some data to some client, then I would typically do it in a slideshow. Reading view is this, in which it's just showing it as different pages. Now, few shortcuts that I would like to talk about before we move on, and I'll use a blank slide for this, or should I use a title only? Shortcuts that we are going to talk about over here, which will really help you to create a little more beautiful slides. So let's talk about some important shortcuts and why I want to do these shortcuts, because designing is also an important part of our PowerPoint presentation. So one is Shift, one is Control, and one is Alt. Now, why do I need these shortcuts over here? I don't know if you guys have experienced, let's say if I want to insert a shape, like an oval shape over here, and when you draw it and you're trying to make a circle, it takes a lot of effort to make it a circle. Yes or no? Sometimes you're not able to achieve that circle very conveniently. So what Shift key allows you to do is, whenever you're creating any specifically circles and all, when you create it and you're pressing Shift while increasing or decreasing the size of your object, it will give you a perfect setting. The aspect ratio of the shape is maintained when you press Shift and when you move it around. Any kind of shape that you pick, it will not allow you to distort it. So you can easily go over here, pick a shape, press the Shift key, and when you see, this is like a perfect square that it has created. It won't be a rectangle, it will always be a perfect, because it maintains an aspect ratio when you're pressing the Shift key along with it. So this is one usage. Second thing is, for example, if I have to change the color of the object that, or the shape that I've put over here, on the top, I've got something called a shape format. So over here, I've got shape fill. You can easily go ahead and change the fill. And when you're trying to put one on top of the other, depending on which one was, created at the last, when you try to put it along, this you will see it is not available, or it's not going to appear anymore. So what do you do to bring the circle inside a square? How do I place them together? What I'm trying to do is bring that object in front. So how do we do it? We can right click and say send to back. Once you send to back, now this object I can work with easily. Now, when you say transparency will still not allow me to work with the object in the back. It will start showing the object, yes, but then I'm losing my color of the main object. That's one problem. And it's not going to allow me to work with this object. Now there are two different objects and I can select both easily. Okay, so send to back is what I did. Now, if I have to adjust the size of this circle, again, the same issue. When I try to move it, it kinds of distorts. Control Z. If I try Shift key and I try to move it, it is reducing, but it's gone to the corner. It was in the center and it's gone to the corner. Now, if I want to make sure that it is reducing in size, but it's staying in the center of the original object, it's not moving its position, basically, then we press Control Shift together, and then if you reduce it, you will see it is able to work in the same position. It can change the size and work in the same position. Is this clear? So this is a role of Control key. When you use a Control key, it kind of fixes the position. You're not supposed to move the position. Shift helps me to maintain the aspect ratio of it. And what does Alt do for us? Let's quickly see. So for example, if I have another circle that I would like to create, I'm pressing Shift key, creating it. Now I would like to align. Now when I'm doing aligning, do you see this red lines over here? Do you see the dotted red lines? What are these lines meant for? It helps us in aligning our objects. So over here, it's helping me to align my objects. And if I don't want the guiding lines, then you press the Alt key. So it makes it independent of the guiding lines. And then wherever you feel like putting it, you can easily. Okay. But with the guiding lines, sometimes, it is going to make it very confusing where I'm dropping. And if you want to get rid of the guiding lines, you use Alt. That's the main purpose of Alt. What is the role of icons in our reports? It is again for beautification of the presentation. So if I'm talking about traffic on the website, what if I make people like traffic is what? The number of people who are coming on the website. So if I have an icon of a male and a female that I show and then I show increase and decrease, that's easier to read. That's more interesting to read rather than reading the word traffic has increased on the website. Okay, things people can easily relate to. Think about stock market. The stock name comes and there's a red arrow, down arrow, or a green up arrow. Do you need a tutorial? So very interesting thing is that in PowerPoint presentations, just like in Excel we have shape format painters, we also have format painters for PowerPoint. So if I did certain kind of formatting over here in terms of the outline and the line weightage, I can simply click over here and use the same formatting. I really don't have to do it once again. So if I have multiple elements, I can simply do this format painting over here. So I would remove the fill color. I would make sure the outline is little thicker. How do we do it? Shape outline, weight, and then increase the weight from here. And then when you're inserting icon, I'm just going to use this icon, let's say, insert, and I'm going to place it inside. Now, when you're placing inside, you see this guiding lines, and this is showing me now it is center aligned to it. Anytime I want to increase or decrease the size of the icon, I would use Control and Shift and do it. That helps me to maintain the aspect ratio. That helps me to maintain the alignment also. Right? Now, if I had to do the same color as a circle for the icons, what is the best way of doing it? For example, I have not picked up the colors from this scheme at all. I can pick colors from any scheme, right? So let's say if I'm not picked from the scheme, then how do I get the same color for my icon? When you right click on this icon and when you go to the format graphics, so all the things that you have on top of graphics, you are getting over here also. I can go to fill. In the drop down, you have a beautiful feature called eyedropper. What eyedropper really does is picks the color that you want and it colors your object using it. So if I pick eyedropper and I hover on top of the orange color, my icon will turn the same color. So it's exactly the same color. I don't need to remember which orange did I pick or which blue did I pick. I want them to be same color. So I'll always use a eyedropper over here. Okay. So always, try to use eyedroppers. Now, when you, few things before we move to the next part, couple of websites which really comes handy because icons in PowerPoint presentation are pretty limited. It might not always be what our business wants. So a few websites I would like to talk about. One is called a Flaticon. What Flaticon allows us to do is get icons, various kind of icons. All you need to do is a login and no payment, nothing is there. It's completely free of cost. All they want is basically attribution that, okay, you know, you use this website, that's about it. And you type in, let's say, impressions, and you get various, type of impressions. And the best part of it is you can pick it, you can edit the icon, various color combinations are given over here. So you can pick the icon, you can edit the icon, you can change the color of the icon. You can click over here and say, okay, I want it in this particular color or brown color. You decide that, and then you can download it as a PNG file. And once you've downloaded this thing, then you can again bring it to your presentations. So if I want to create, let's say another circle, insert, shape, this, I'm going to use my shift key to create it, right? If I want to make sure these two circles I've created are equal size, one more thing I can do is click on the circle. On the top, you see in the shape format, you see the size 4.75. If I click here, this is 4.57. So this is exactly the same. I'm going to remove the fill part, right? Or I could have simply used this part format and it will do the rest of it. This format painter and no, Control Z. Format painter and this, and then I can simply go and change the color of the outline that I want. Easier. And then if I want to insert that particular picture, the icon that I have, so I'll have to use the picture. I'll go to the downloads. This is the impression one that I had. I'm going to shrink it down. Again, how much I should shrink it down, I will refer to the size of my old icon, 3.11, and make sure my new icon is also of the same size. These things might seem like how important they are, but I think they're very important in terms of how you're presenting your reports. So this is done. If you need the icon to be the same color over here, then you can go to more colors, and each color has something called a hex code, which comes up over here. So you can copy the hex code. You can go back to that website where we used it. And this time, again, you can say, okay, this is the color I want to change. Go to the new color and paste the hex code over here. Control V, Control copy, paste it. Come on, yes. And now I can download it once again. PNG, this, go back. Okay, this was how much size? 3.1. Okay, I'm going to insert picture, this device, downloads. Going to change this to 3.11. Automatically change, delete this, bring this in. Okay. So this is about how you are going to create icons for your reports. Now, have you ever wondered how people are able to get these kind of objects in the back? And this you will know right now how to create it. Different colors are there, circles are there. This is what you've done right now, how to create this thing. Let's do a couple of more things over here. Let's say if I wanted to create, I'm creating a blank slide. You know, a lot of time you guys have a background picture. It may be in your, let's say, section headers only. You have a different background picture, and then you have the section header, and then you're talking about things on it. So how do you have background pictures? From where do you pick background pictures? So again, there is a very nice website. One is this icons. Second website that I would like to talk to you before we move on is a website called Pixbay. What Pixbay has is basically it has a lot of background pictures in it, and you can do a login. Again, I'm going to do it with my Google. Okay, and whatever picture you want, let's say I want for digital marketing, and it could be a client based also. So whatever picture you feel okay is going to be the nice picture to use. Nothing related to digital marketing yet. This one is still better. So again, what you can do is you can download it. And when you're downloading, don't pick up the maximum one because it becomes very difficult to resize these kind of images. I'm going to pick 640 by 427. And now if I want to place it on my website, on my slide, I can go to picture, this device, and download and get this picture over here. Once I've got this picture, if I want to expand it, whenever you're expanding or contracting anything in your PowerPoint, always use the side handles. the aspect ratio is maintained. And there's a lot of dead space in the picture. So I can simply select it, go to my picture format and crop it. So when you crop it, you can reduce this. I can reduce this part again. Reduce this part over here. Reduce this part over here. So I'm cropping the picture, right? Once I step outside, it is cropped. Again, I'm going to make sure it is aligning towards the side. And let's say I want to make this much as my picture. Now, sometimes you have seen that the picture is there, but it's not very prominent picture. It's almost like it's very light and there are some more colors on top of it. So how do we create such kind of slides? We can also insert another shape on top of it. So I'm going to create a normal triangle and then I'm going to put it on top of it, right? And now we will work with something that you were talking about, transparency. So I can go to the fill. If I want the blue color, I can, or if I want it like the orangish color, I can keep that and increase my transparency. So that gives a better effect to your pictures, right? And if I want to get rid of, like this has an outline, so I want to get rid of the outline. Then you can pick, you have to decide that whether you want orange color or which color you're going to prefer. Which color would look better? I think this is looking much better. So you can have pictures, give them a different color, increase the transparency of it, and make it look little different than the original picture, which is going to be very, very highlighted.